I'm not entirely sure how funeral directors managed to get a similar stereotype to that of used car salesmen, but here we are. And it's very unfair to these professionals who work their butts off so that you can have a respectful and dignified farewell to your loved one. So today, we're cracking some myths about funeral directors and funeral homes, which should make you think twice about your preconceived notion of them. Before we begin, we post death and dying related videos every Friday, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's talk myths about funeral homes. It's all a scam. We may as well start with the main gripe that we hear so often. A scam is defined as a fraudulent scheme, which is very different to "I just don't want to pay that." Now, we did a very long video addressing this particular myth a while ago, but in a nutshell, you have the same personal responsibility when purchasing from a funeral home as you do when purchasing from a tour company or wedding planner. That is, you must do your own research. And with all the knowledge in the world in your pocket, it isn't that difficult. There are even comparison websites out there to help you out. You are paying for their expertise, their years of experience, and the convenience. Because you absolutely can DIY a funeral. You can DIY getting your loved one's body to the cemetery. But will you? Probably not, because that's a lot of work. You are paying them to do that work. And if you are still whining about the cost of a casket and all that, go watch our video on how to DIY a funeral to help with that. Conveyor belt cremations. There seems to be this belief in the older generation that the cremation process has bodies lined up on a conveyor belt going through an oven like it's a factory process. This isn't a thing. It is a one in, one out kind of process. And there's no conveyor belt. This is what a cremation chamber looks like. If you want to compare the process to something, it's more like a pizza oven. Body goes in, does its thing, cremation operator retrieves it. Also, it takes about 2 hours for a body to be cremated, and a conveyor belt system of any kind is just not built for that kind of cooking. Every funeral home has a crematorium. Many people have this idea that if they purchase a cremation from a large, pretty, expensive funeral home, they are more likely to get their loved one's remains back instead of concrete dust. Or, if you go through a cheaper funeral home, they will treat your loved one poorly. All of that is incorrect. Here's the deal. Funeral homes don't own or have crematoriums on site. Here in Perth, we have 3 crematoriums. None of them are owned by a funeral home. That's it, 3. So whichever funeral home you go with, that body is going to the same place. They are contracting out a service like many other businesses do. And in case you're wondering, Sydney metro area has 13 crematoriums, Melbourne has 5, and the entirety of Tasmania has 7. Funeral directors are just in it for the money. What money? Just like any other job that involves helping people, funeral directors are not well paid, especially for the 24-hour shift work that's needed. Just because you are paying out comparatively big money doesn't mean it's going to them. That's not how business works. The money you pay for a service, for that casket or anything else, goes back into the business to buy stock, keep facilities up and running, pay insurance and staff wages. But the big money goes to the leadership like any business. Funeral directors are on call so that when your granny inconveniently dies at 2 a.m, they can be there for you. That means they often miss a lot of their own family's events, birthdays, weddings, school concerts, etc. to help you, because they have gone into the job for that purpose. Caskets are recycled. One funeral home in one country that's not Australia does this one time and suddenly everyone thinks it's true everywhere. They either go into the ground with you or are put into the cremation machine with you, handles and all. Caskets aren't like rented suits. You must hire a funeral director. Nope. You absolutely can DIY a funeral yourself. There is no legal requirement in Australia for you to hire a funeral director. Will it make things easier? Oh God, yeah. But no one is saying you have to. Protective caskets help preserve a body. Not so much a problem over here because back in the 90s, a large US funeral super company came over here and tried to impose their beliefs that bigger is better and grander is great when it comes to caskets, and the Australian public told them to F off home. It's rare to find an extremely lavish, lead-lined, hermetically sealed casket here. Now, we do have them because some situations warrant that, but funeral directors here aren't going to bother mentioning them to you. Now, why do I bring up that US company? Because across the pond, they sell a lot of these expensive protective caskets, promising that the body will be kept preserved and in great condition forevermore. They don't, but your loved one will be in a stew-like form for many years longer than they needed to be, which is oh so dignified. They will secretly embalm the body. Another myth courtesy of the US. For the 100th time, embalming is not the norm here in Australia or in most countries. In fact, over here, it's actually seen as a bit weird. And the only time it is really used is for repatriation of a body, or if you're being buried in an above ground crypt of some sort. So no, your loved one's body is not going to be secreted away to the back of the funeral home and embalmed against your wishes. You are not going to get a random bill for an embalming that you didn't want. Yes, we have mortuary staff in Australia who are trained to embalm bodies, but that's only when it's needed or strongly wanted by the family. They aren't going around embalming bodies just because they're bored on a Tuesday afternoon. And if you would like to watch us debunk the evils of embalming, go check out this video. A funeral service needs to be held in a church or chapel. Nope. They often are held in chapels because they are usually not of any particular religion, and they are often situated in a cemetery, so it's easier to take the body straight to the burial site after the service, or to the crematorium, which is usually on cemetery grounds. And because they are not religion specific, people who are not religious at all often have their services there. But there is no law that says that you have to have it in a chapel or any place of worship for that matter. You could have the service at home, in a park, in a function room if you like. Funeral directors are secret necrophiles. People who think this are usually the same people who are so afraid of death they can't fathom anyone would go near the dead unless they had unscrupulous motives. We've done a few videos about necrophiles on this channel which all stated how very rare the condition is and how even rarer it is to be acted on. A funeral director is not humping your dead mother any more than your vet is humping your dog. Actually, now that I mention it, bestiality is quite a bit more common than necrophilia, so that's something to think about next time you take Fido to the vet. If you actually believe funeral directors are all necrophiles, you really need to go seek professional help for your death anxiety and stop believing the trash the media puts out there just to get your views. Okay, so I hope this clears a few things up for people. I am very curious to know what other myths that you have heard about the funeral industry. Please let us know in the comments and we might end up doing a part 2. This whole thing is a very good example of how people's fears and a lack of education can lead to so much misinformation and more fear. So with that, go talk death.